Thank you, and congratulations to each one of you, sincerely. One summer when I was a teenager, my oldest brother Daniel organized a kind of book club between the two of us and my other brother Andrew. He challenged us to read and discuss together William Faulkner's notoriously complicated novel, The Sound and the Fury. We still haven't forgiven him for that. I'm lucky that it wasn't Ulysses, or I might not be standing before you today as an English major. Don't get me wrong, I love the novel, and I would suggest it to anyone, but I would also completely expect you to hate me just a little bit for doing so. But since today is a time for nostalgia rather than trauma, I hope that you will allow me to dwell for just a moment in the memory, or perhaps non-memory, of that summer. I say non-memory because before I recently read it again for a class, I wouldn't have been able to tell you the minor characters' names from the book, major plot details, or even how it ended. And that really makes me wonder, why did I even read it? Why do we spend so much time reading these texts if within a number of years they all but fade? The answer, I think, lies somewhere in the things that I do remember from that summer. I remember the complete confusion I felt as I read that first section. And then I remember the betrayal I felt and the inevitable weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth when the second section became even more complicated. I remember the moment of revelation when I claimed that Quentin, the character from the novel, was a young woman, when my brother Andrew argued that he was a young man. We both had textual evidence for this, and spoiler alert, there are two Quentins. Most of all, I remember falling a bit behind and missing out on a conversation my brothers were having about the beginning of the final section. Now, why would this memory be cemented so strongly in my mind? We were engaging the same text, enjoying largely the same experience. I think ultimately, I felt that what I was missing out on was a meaningful connection both with the text and with my brothers. And that's ultimately the message I hope you take away from this talk. The utterly obvious but rarely expressed importance of human relationships in our study of literature or media or language or anything else, really. We generally focus on connections surrounding a text or a piece of media, the author's life, the cultural milieu surrounding time and place, the critical conversation that is surrounding the text since its inception. Recently, some have spoken about the importance of the network surrounding the reader. Rita Felski has written that for some scholars, quote, a literary work seems to be a blank screen on which groups of readers project their pre-existing ideas and beliefs, close quote. This includes our own histories, context, investments, of course. But the dyad of reader text does not quite account for the conditions under which the dyad is first formed. I remember more about a missed conversation than I do about major plot points, specifically because the extra textual connections I made with my brothers, while entangled with the text, became more important to me than the text itself. Now, as I recall my undergraduate education at BYU, what moments and texts stand out in my mind? Derrida Donut Day, if you can believe it. At least half a class in tears as Dr. Hickman read to us the ending of The Road, singing an Emily Dickinson poem to the tune of a primary song in a class with Dr. Cutchins. I remember exactly everything about my study abroad. I remember each paper I wrote and the specific feedback that I got from each of my professors. This isn't to say that I've forgotten everything I've read. I hope not. I'm going on to get a PhD. But the ones I remember most vividly are the ones entangled in my deepest relationships. I will never be able to remember these texts without remembering my friends and mentors, and I will never be able to remember them without the companionship of meaningful texts. I imagine that each of you can remember similar times in your undergraduate education, a painting here, some group tension there, always in conversation and always meaningful. So, how does this apply to you and me as we go into the world to learn and to serve? Well, in addition to critical thinking skills, writing skills, translation, in addition to even the broader Humanities Plus initiatives, project management, cultural awareness, and the like, we have been learning how to blend content and relationships in productive and meaningful ways. We've been learning how to process cultural knowledge, but always within a relational mode. So wherever you're going now, law school, medical school, pizza delivery, international diplomacy, know that it's important what you do, but how you commit yourself to your cause, how you interact with your fellow delivery drivers, how you entangle your content with your relationships may be even more important. Maybe, like me, you'll be lucky enough to remember a missed conversation, one that truly reveals a meaningful life. Let me close by offering one more memory of my brother. Returning home for a different summer, he had the two of us memorize the following poem. Many of you may know it. One fish, two fish, red fish. My bad. I probably just ruined the moment for this really good poem. I will arise and go now, and go to Innisfree, and the small cabin built there of clay and wattles made. 9 bean rows will I plant there, a hive for the honeybee, and sit alone in the bee-loud glade. I will arise and go now, for always night and day I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore. When standing in the roadway or on the pavement's gray, I hear it in the deep heart's core. I hope that wherever you're arising to go now, you make that new dwelling place an Innisfree. Build your cabin, plant your bean rows, get stung by bees. Create a place through content and connection in such a way that years from now, looking back, you'll be able to hear it in your deep heart's core. Thank you.